I'll give you a quick introduction about myself so you can see where this is all coming from. I have a company called The Good Company, brands people, places. I've worked in design and marketing and branding for a long time, but the last 10 years I've really concentrated on place branding, so the connection of people to where they live, the connection of people to a place through brand, through words, through photos, through imagery. Hang on. We didn't do this, yes. So I'll just talk you through a couple of things I've done. I put this up first because it makes you think that I'm an international jet setter. I do some work in South Australia, and one of my favourite projects, this is in the Barossa Valley, which is a famous wine growing region there. And as my son said, so you basically ride around on a bike, take photos of people, talk to people, ride around through the vineyards, and they pay you to do it, and people just do it. It's not as glamorous as it sounds, but this came from, again, we talk about being nice, and we have this phrase called the economics of being nice. So, totally locally took me over to Australia to talk about it, and from that I've ended up doing work, and I go back about once a year, so it's really nice. Anyone saw the Antiques Roadshow on Sunday? It sort of fits in with the sort of crowd, doesn't it? If you saw it, the Peace Hall that was on there, that's Halifax is 5 miles from where I live. I've just spent the last 12 months working on the reopening, and it was closed for 3 years. It should have been 1 year. Our council committed £10 million to it. It cost 23 million, and there was a bit of a crisis on the whole connection with the public. But it's open, it's beautiful, and it's really worth seeing. I've just finished a brand for the Sandstone Ridge, which is an area of Cheshire. And again, you come back to this whole idea that a lot of people live in this area. It starts at Frodsham, it goes all the way down to Malpas and Texan. But a lot of people who live there don't actually know that they live in the Sandstone Ridge. So it's a whole idea of bringing stories and people and place together and creating an identity. So a lot of people ask me why I do Totally Locally. And you possibly don't know what it is yet, so I'll explain in a minute. But it's all about small shops and small businesses, and so I brought this picture because it's one of my favourite pictures of all time. Despite the typo in the worst word that you could actually have a typo and nobody can see it. Competent. This is my granddad, Cyril Sands, and this is my dad, David Sands. This is 1957. My granddad opened this shop in 1938, and he ran it through to the mid-70s. He's a total legend in a 10-mile radius of where we live. And to this day, if I tell people my name, they say nothing to do with Cyril. And he, in the 1950s, on a Saturday afternoon after the shop closed, there would be 200 bikes outside waiting for my granddad to lead a ride out. He did slideshows. He took people on. They'd book a meal at a place 100 miles away, and they'd all ride out there. All this sort of stuff that we look at now as quite innovative, he was doing in the 50s. Another lovely story was he created the Silverbridge Plate Glass Society because people's windows were getting smashed. It's a bit of a rough time. So they all worked together and they all insured the whole town between themselves. Really interesting stuff. I've only just found this out. And my dad there, as a young guy there, but he also ran his village shop as well when we were children. And we struggled as a family to live like that, and part of the way I do this is because I realised if we had a kit, my dad had had access to something like this in some free marketing, he would have done a lot better. Right, that's the waffle bit over with. So Totally Locally, it's a free to use product that I put together. I've had all the slides stolen by you earlier. Thank you for the introduction. So what is it? It's community-led. The number one thing is community-led. It's not about councils, it's not about big organisations, it's about grassroots, it's about giving people the tools to go and do the stuff that they can do to make their town a bit better. So it's open source marketing in the way that if you come up, people who take on the kit and do some work with it, if we ask them that if you come up with a new good idea that you share it with everybody else. It's well thought out strategic brand campaign, and it's just like I've worked with some big organisations in the past, and it's a marketing kit like I would do for them. This one's for free. So it's reconnecting communities with their high streets and towns by showing these communities that if you use local businesses, where you live gets better. It's quite simple, really, and it really is free. So the intellectual property is being given away. It started here in Calderdale, so I don't know if you know Calderdale. People know Hebden Bridge, they know Halifax, they know Tottenham. It's gritty. I think the word for the Halifax people sometimes is dour as well. The comedians used to have a saying that if you can make people laugh in Halifax, you know that you've sorted for the rest of the tour. It's 6 towns, very, very different. And my council came to me and said, we want to do a shop local campaign. Would you do it? And they were expecting the sticker. About 9-10 years ago, every town was doing a shop local campaign, weren't they? And it was a sticker that says shop local, tick in the thing, stick it in your window, and everybody changes. That's what they're expecting. And I turned up with a 72-page strategy document on how, for 2 years, you can run something that really, really does affect it. And it was based around this message. Now you might see this something like this floating around on social media. It's been sort of used by lots of people in lots of different ways. But we did this nearly 10 years ago. And it was a very, very simple thing. So if every adult in Calderdale spent £5 a week in their local independent shops instead of online at the supermarket, it's worth £40 million a year going to the local community. Which means more jobs, better facilities, and a nicer place to live, makes you think. So it's really, anyone that's into marketing will look at and go, small action, easy to do, big effect, and what's in it for me at the bottom. And then the other bit is that they run, so Centres On is the magic tenner, and Emma mentioned that as well. So when you do spend that money with a local business, they nearly all spend it with other local businesses, so that multiplies up. So the New Economics Foundation will tell you that if £10 spent in your local economy is worth up to £50 just floating around. So if you go to a local shop, spend 10 quid, eventually that's worth £50 by this lovely illustration by somebody who I don't know who's done it, but somebody did. I'm going to try the sound to see if this works. We've got a video embedded in it, it's 1 minute long, and this will give you the complete concept. This is shot on Hebden Bridge.
Just can't pay the bills. I still
gives spice. But those are real people who really use every single one of those. Those are real transactions. So let's see if I can carry on to the next one. That's it. So when we did it in Calderdale, it worked straight away. Lots of people started changing their shopping habits. And people were going into shops going, I've come to spend my £5. We did a lot of press, the press got behind it, social media got behind it, and people turned up going, I've only spent £4.50 today, I need to spend another 50p. So this £5 a week sort of thing happened. And when people, it's the classic thing is when people start to use local shops again, they start to enjoy it and they realise actually what they've been missing. So that £5 actually starts to become £10, becomes 15, becomes a different way of shopping. And it works so well that I just got loads and loads of requests for people to come and do it for them. So I wasn't sure whether it would work or not, so we tried it in 5 towns. 3 of them did well, 2 of them didn't. And then I realised that actually nipping up to Helensburgh next to near Glasgow was a little bit difficult for someone like me. So after a while, I talked to my mate Nigel who I was working with and just said, why don't we just give it away for free and see what happens? So we did. Built it into a kit, put it online, and in this kit there's everything that you need to do. There's all the templates, there's InDesign templates, there's banners, posters, stickers, but also there's press releases, there's an invite to your first meeting to explain to people what you're doing. And then there's a timeline of how to do stuff, how to get people involved, and there's the £5 message, the £5 and stuff. And the other thing at the bottom it says a peer-to-peer support network. That's basically a closed Facebook group of about 600 people from all over the world that actually now share ideas with each other. You can ask a question on there and somebody will answer it. And they did that so that I didn't have to do anything, to be honest. The ingredients you need, a collaborative bunch of people who love their town and want to share it with others, and Emma's there will fits that perfectly. And there are no rules. That's it. Apart from there's one, and we always have this one up. Be nice or leave. And it really does come down to that. Park all your old morals at the door and all your historic problems, and you just crack on and do it. And as soon as you start doing that, things start to work. These are a few people that have been nice. You can see the kit being used right across the board there. It's about people just doing it as, like Ben said, no permission needed, not from anyone. If I work with councils, and I know how long it takes to get anything done, like really, really frustrated to help. So if you just go and do it, to be honest, no one's going to really, especially now, no one's going to do that. Really. So you can do really whatever you want. That's not permission, by the way. So this message has spread. Over 50 towns in the UK have used it. I have no idea. I went on the Google Images yesterday to sort of see who is using it, and there's loads of towns I didn't even know. Is anyone from Hungerford here at all? I saw a band with Hungerford. There you go. Yeah, I didn't even know that. That was so it's interesting, and they use the same stuff. I like to show this one because this is the furthest away from the UK that we have. This is Waiheke Island in New Zealand. And I had the pleasure of going over there to pop over, and we got in the car on the ferry to come out, and we got in the car in front of us had a sticker that said, I'm going to hello to Waiheke Island, and I was like, so yeah, and they're lovely people. And Geraldine in New Zealand, South Island is doing really, really well. Those are all the towns, because basically half these towns have got like 20 people, and so they're all the towns around Geraldine. So going back to the kit, so when you've got that £5 message drilled into people and people start doing it, then the towns then say, thank you for doing that. We're now going to put you loads of £5 special offers on, do some really great things for you to say thank you to you. So this is part of the Fiberfest. Usually runs over a fortnight, because Fiberfest fortnight sounds good. If you can do it in February, Fiberfest fortnight February is even better. And you put your offer on the front, but what we ask you, everyone, to do is put everybody else's offer on the back, because the competition is not with each other. It's Amazon, it's Tesco, it's Sainsbury's, it's all those people. You are in this together. Again, I like to show this one because this one here is my local pub. This one here is Wahiki. They look quite similar. The Australians, there's quite a few people in Australia using it, and they do $10 town because $5 is a cup of coffee. And then people get creative and they do their own stuff and then they share it out with each other. Teddington's done loads of Fiver Fests and done really, really well out of it. And it carries on and it's become a really popular thing. If you saw BBC News on Monday, they did a feature on myself and on Leek in Staffordshire. They started the Totally Locally Burger for the Fiver Fest. It was so popular that they decided to keep it on. It's been going 4 years. Every single ingredient is sourced within 200 metres of the pub. It's £5 and it stays at £5. And we worked it out the other day that there's 12,000 sold and it's £20,000 worth of money gone into the high street just for the sales of that, of ingredients. And I did witness the best transaction I've ever seen, whereas Ron, who's the butcher there, he was in the pub. They gave him the money for the mincemeat that he got and he stood there for about 10 seconds and he went, "I'll have a pint, please." And there's your circular money going straight back into it there. We've got the landlord, the butcher and the baker, and there was a lady who was next to them who was a jeweller who did make candlesticks. So, and interestingly, the Fiver Fest in Teddington, this is what they sold over a fortnight. So 517 breakfasts from 5 litres. So this is really just a marketing kit. It's marketing, that's all it is. It's brand and marketing. And there's a few other people that are involved. It's not just for shops. You may see this is on the website. Anyone can go and get this. You don't have to be doing totally locally. The Declaration of Independence. And this came from a bookshop, I think, in Bedford, who I saw a sign that they put up and said, "Our taxes pay for half a year's training for student nurse. Amazon's didn't pay for any." And it really, so that started this whole thing off. So there's lots of stuff like we choose to spend our money locally with other local businesses. We appreciate the customer. We are unique. You won't find us on any other high street, just this one. And then the manifesto. Again, manifestos are quite common now, but 9 years ago they weren't. So we did this, and this has been downloaded thousands and thousands of times. You can out and you see it in quite a lot of places. Go back to the Magic Tenner. As part of this, after you've done the Fiver Fest and all that stuff, then the Magic Tenner is the next stage. So again, it's a campaign, and the Magic Tenner says when you poster it says when you come here, when you shop here, you support all these other local businesses that we support. Quite surprising when you start adding up the accountant, the electrician, the window cleaner. Before you know it, most businesses have got around about 20. And when people start doing totally locally, that goes up quite a bit. So when you're shopping, when you eat here, and we talk about this came from Andrea, who runs a farm shop in Delhi, and we worked out she had 33 local suppliers. I went to 2 of them, Lottie and Carl at the bottom there, and asked them how many they got, and they had 20 each. So you imagine that at that one level it goes up. So there's 600 businesses just on one level, all connected to this one. So if you go up another one, and even if they had 10 each, you're talking 6,000 businesses all interconnected, all depending on each other. So when you start pulling one out, it all starts to sort of look a bit shaky. Really good piece of a good study there, I think, for somebody. So I'll blast through these really quick. So this is some of the stuff that's in the kit. There's even a newspaper. Chips and Oyster are on issue number 6 of the Totally Local Times, and that's in there. You can populate it as well as different stuff. There's badges, bags, everything really. And we have a thing called Map Wars, who can do the best map. I think Teddington's winning at the moment. Usually local artists come in and just do it for free, and nearly everybody sort of benefits from it as well. And one of the things as well is, I haven't mentioned, but we say to people, sometimes people club together to get the printing done, but quite often if you go to a local printer and go, "We're going to do this, it's for the good of the town, would you do it for free, or would you do it at cost?" As long as you can maybe let them put the name across and say this was done for free by some printer. They quite happily do it, and you know, everyone that's done it has made loads and loads of new business off the back of it. Because people appreciate the economics of being nice, as we call it, just being nice brings you more business. So wrapping up now. So far, Totally Look has received about £7 million worth of press coverage for the towns. And it's been on national TV and lots of local TV and stuff like that. In France, the Lane de Joël, where it's been translated into French. It's been translated into French, Polish, Welsh, and Austrian. If that's Italian Austrian. So this has all been done by people, and they all share it back in. It's become its own anti-brand, really. In a way, it's all about going. Our town is unique because of, and it's inspired lots of things here. You may have seen Crichowell on the town on the Types Man. The producers rang me up and said, "Do you know any towns that have got a bit of fight?" And I said, "And take you down." It was between them and Scarborough, I have to say, but I'm glad you won. Brickhouse there, we did the first Totally Locally market in Brickhouse, and apologies if anyone's from Brickhouse, but it's a bit of a no-horse town. There's no reason to go to Brickhouse. But we did our first market there with one lady who runs a flower shop said, "I want to do a market with Totally Local stuff." And Leslie, she's just a superstar. She's another Emma, really. And everybody laughed, went, "Who the hell is going to come to a market in Brickhouse?" And we closed the street off, 3,500 people came. And it was so busy that the council banned us from doing another one. So the MP got involved, and then they opened it up again. And now they do it quarterly, and on average 8,500 people turn up. And it's 85 stalls now. And this is purely done by people who didn't cost them anything to do. We've got a good relationship with our markets, and they put the stalls. So you can see there's loads of different markets that are in that's Crichowell, is it? Yeah. So Gisborough, that's become quite a common thing there too. And I'll leave you with the last case study. So Leek used to be known as Bleak Leek in the Staffordshire area, surrounded by Buxton and Ashbourne. Tourist destinations, but Leek on Sunday was dead and could not get. The only place that was open was a Costa and the Wetherspoons, and visitors would turn up and leave again. So they decided they wanted to do a market. Council said no, but they worked out through the guys in West Bridgeford who have already done this that if you stick a market trestle table outside the shop and you pay for it inside the shop, it's not classed as a market, it's classed as an event, so you don't need a licence, so you can do it without. Council saw that people really loved it, because it was really successful, and they went, okay, you can have a licence. That's gone up to that's now 85 stalls every fourth Sunday, and that Sunday now has become their busiest trading day of the month. And from that, loads of other things have come out of it as well. 4 businesses that started on the market, trying out things, now own shops on the high street themselves. One of them being the baker that makes the bun for the burger. And the shop vacancy rate in Leek before they started doing Totally Local. Bear in mind that this is the council just let them get on with it. They've not had much interaction with them whatsoever. The vacancy rate was 17%, it's now 3%, and it's pretty hard to get a shop in Leek. So, as I said, there's no such thing as a free lunch. We want you to get involved. We're about to try and launch the Totally Local National Fibre Fest. We want to try and get as many people in a £5 special offer. 8th to 15th of June. That was Emma's idea. because what? It's a quiet week, yeah? It's a quiet time. Yeah, so we want to do a week of £5 special offers from independent shops and businesses across the UK, highlighting the great value and the importance of small businesses to our economy. And we want to make it a big deal because, especially in these times of uncertainty, if every person in the UK just spent £5, it's worth £13.5 billion going into the local economies, which is crazy. And then when you stick that accumulator of the fact that all those businesses spend each other, this is like really serious numbers. So there's 25 towns on board already. And this is all through our social media network, right? Who's up for this? Yes, we are. So we've already got a bit of momentum going already. We haven't even made it public yet. You're the first people to know this, by the way. So if you think it's a rubbish idea, please say. We want the bookshop community to get on board because, as you know, you're all the cool kids on the block at the moment when it comes to independent high streets. So as a bit of a bribe, we've created the model by Emma here. We've created a bookshop manifesto, the independent bookshop manifesto. There's a load of them here for you to take, and please share on Twitter. And you can download it from the website as well. So that's your bribe. And if you want to, if you'd like to get involved, that's the email to send it to. And it'd be really interesting to see what sort of momentum we can get going. And we honestly believe that, you know, with this behind us, we've also got some interest from publishers and things, haven't we, as well? Some publishers talk about it. So yeah, please just come and have a chat with the Q&A now. I'm going to leave you, being in this bookish environment, I'm going to leave you with just a quote from what I believe is the greatest American author of every time, of all time. So I'll leave you on that note, and is that it? Is that brilliant?
Thank you so much. Two brilliant presentations and so much for saying great book service. We'll open up to 4 questions now. Just need to work out which microphones work.
I've got a question, probably mostly for Emma. So I'm here, I'm a counsellor in a publisher's world. I'm a bit of the black sheep here. We are really struggling to get our businesses engaged in anything like this. What have you found that has really helped bring in those reticent people who don't have the momentum or the impetus or the motivation to get involved that has worked for you guys?
Generally it's just going ahead and doing it, and just what we've found is people that haven't initially wanted to get involved because either it's too much effort or they've done it before, or all the other excuses that we hear, we've just gone ahead and done it, made a massive success about it, and when they said, oh actually can I get involved? Well, yeah, sure, of course you can, no problem. And that's what's helped. So it's a case of that works over time, so it's not a quick win. But it's just basically just keep on banging the drum. And if people want to get involved later, even if they've been horrible to you or negative or for whatever, it's that whole just be the better person, be nice, and let them in and say, yeah, no problem, what are your ideas? Let's what can we work on with you? I think that's really the big takeaway from that.
If you are a counsellor, the way I look at it is, I'm not counselled by one of the things I think, if you come in as a counsel and go, we've got this idea, we're going to do this, people will sit back and look at it, and at the end of it, when you've finished and the money's run out or the time's run out, they'll go, what are you going to do next for us? So I would say point people at certain places, so point them at something like the website, point them at other stuff, and you'll get 2 or 3 people. Don't try to get everybody on board because it will not happen. But if 2 or 3 people get it, and they run together, it starts to create some momentum.
I think it sounds fantastic, and I definitely would love to be involved. Our city's on the verge of becoming putting a bid in a business improvement district. Are there any places where this works alongside? Do they just sit together happy, or would that be difficult? I don't know whether you know anyone who's done the bid.
I'm actually, Halifax itself is in the middle of a bid at the moment, and I do feel sorry for them because all they get is berated by everybody for not doing things. It could work very well again. It could work very well with it. I think there's certain nuances, and I keep saying, quite often I'll say, if you're a council or if you're a bid or something like that, it's usually worth getting yourself down or somebody like Emma down to talk, because there are some nuances there. Whereas a lot of people look at it and think it's a one size fits all, and it doesn't. So there is some nuances, and it's very much about. So potentially, if you're a bid, and this is the problem, is that some of the biggest bid players will be Boots, the Great Smiths, that sort of thing, and you cannot have them all. But there's ways around it. And what the shaky ground is franchises. So you imagine that Specsavers going on a poster for Totally Local doesn't look that good. But actually, when you talk to people that run the franchises, they say, well, look, you can't be on the poster. Look, you employ local people, it's a local business. You can work in the background. Every single person has done that. So it is difficult, but you can do it.
Hi, we're from Abingdon, and we have a really good mix of independent businesses, but also quite a lot of chains. One of the challenges we have in the town is the fact that we have our high street, the precinct area, is full of chains that are a little bit depressing, and some empty units. So we've got these great streets that have got indies, but then people that come to the town tend to end up in this, I think, slightly depressing part of town. From your experiences, I think this sounds fabulous. It sounds exactly the kind of thing we need in Abingdon. Have you seen the effect of Totally Locally kind of also impacting maybe slightly more commercial parts of the town as well? Because I would hope that whatever we do along these lines, we can try and feed into both parts of the town. Sorry, that was very wordy. That's what I do.
So again, it's difficult to engage with a chain store whose head office has to sign everything off. But also, again, they've got their own marketing, they've got their own brand, they've got their own advertising. So this is purely for independence. When I've seen it work, everybody wins. And that's the whole thing about this. If your high street gets busier, every single person wins. So there is benefits for everybody. Empty shops, we've gone and put nice pictures up on them. Yeah.
Try and make it look more appealing.
And again, like Emma just said, discuss with the landlords. In places like Halifax, the landlords probably don't even know where Halifax is. So we've just gone and we've done some really nice posters across with empty windows that look really nice and stuff like that. It's difficult. This is about, I suppose, to use the phrase, a local campaign for local people, but it is really, because you can work together and you can interact together and you can just do stuff between each other. But everybody does win in the end.
Sorry, can I ask one more thing?
Yes.
Sorry, I'll get the mic. Have you had any success with working with organisations like Chamber of Commerce or that kind of thing in towns, or have you found it's better just to go off a splinter group and just start?
Splinter group.
Oh, yeah.
Beware of anyone that's got a chairman.
Yes. that was my gut feeling.
Apart from
Thank you.
yeah.
Actually, we did Totally Locally through the Chamber of Commerce. Yeah, but I agree with your answer, because our Chamber of Commerce, it wasn't the best. It would have been a lot better to have lots of different local groups coming together to do it, because it was a brilliant idea, but it's kind of, it needs rejuvenating again, which I'm going to do now. But anyway, my question was really envious, Emma, that you have no empty shops in your town. Why is that? Because Hungerford really struggles that we've got small units, so we don't get the chains. But indie businesses find it such a risk with such high rents to come in and risk opening a business there.
I think we're really lucky in Crichowell. We are lucky just generally, but I think the vast majority, if not every building in the town, is owned by a local landlord. So the rents are reasonable, which it's a difficulty if you've got absentee landlords. And I know I've spoken to several booksellers that have issues with their building being owned by absentee landlords and having empty areas above their shop as well, being kind of neglected. But it's having that conversation with the landlords. I mean, business rates aren't helping, and there's a big conversation about business rates, but really the reason why we haven't got it in Crichowell is because we've got these local landlords that care about the building, look after the tenants, have decent rent. And again, that's a conversation that we've had, but you know, where I talked about the hardware shop earlier and the Bear pub, the people that have been there for years and years and years and years own a lot of property there, and also, you know, if they start having empty buildings, it's going to affect their businesses. So it makes a big difference. I think with the one of the possible solutions, or a possible solution, even if it's small, for empty shops, are having that conversation about pop-ups and markets, because as Chris mentioned about the markets, the stallholders from Leek eventually going onto the high street and being able to pull that vacancy rate down. I think it's people being able to try out their product and try out their business idea, because often people haven't run a business before, and it'll start on a market. It's a big leap to commit to that rent and all of those bills, as we all know. So if they give the opportunity to be able to just try it out, even if it's a pop-up for 2 months or 6 months or even for a year, much rather than give it a go and then decide either, yeah, this is going to really work for us, or go, well, we've tried that now, it's not going to work. But it's giving people opportunity to try and to do something creative in that space.
A friend of ours in Gisborough, that does the Gisborough, they founded a shop that was 80. She's a maker, and she couldn't take that shop on her own because it's just too expensive. But they got 5 of them together, so each person has a section of the shop, and they only have to work 1 day a week each. And so as makers, it's great, they can go and do their stuff, and they can start a business that's viable, and it's worked really, really well for them. But I witnessed that in Australia as well. There's a guy that the shop next door was going to close, and he had a cafe, and he said, don't close. It was a furniture shop. He said, don't close, we'll knock a hole through the wall, and you can just come in 2 days a week, and we'll look after it on those other days. And guess what? Both of them got busy. So I think there's a really good thing there for like co-working and just chatting with each other.
I'm in Stockton. We have one of, I would argue, the most proactive councils out there.
I know them quite well.
Right, Bill Grimsey has done a report. Would you still advocate the totally locally done as a standalone, or should we try and intertwine within working with the council? You know the councils, you know they're like, do we just still keep it completely separate?
I think we'd keep it separate. And I know you're doing it. Yeah. I worked with the college there actually. I spent quite a while. Yeah. It's a really interesting town, isn't it? And it's really changed.
And also, on the subject in front, we started out in an enterprise like Hay. So anyone that wants to sort of see how a pop-up unit or something of that nature works, please give me a shout. I'll take you around and we can show you how that all works and everything from that point of view. But that's a council initiative that is completely local, independent businesses that are set up.
It's a fabulous. It's a fabulous little spot, isn't it? And the council have been in Stockton a really good model, I think. Just really going for it.
Thank you very much. We need to draw to a close now. So can I ask you to thank Chris and Emma once again?